Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Firdaus Muhammad Ali and I am from the team of government. Moralization means turning something that is just a personal choice or preference, like eating certain food, dressing in a certain way, or how someone lives, into an issue of right and wrong. In public discourse, this means that personal preference or lifestyle choices are transformed into moral values and become subjects of public judgment or debate. As a result, something that was once considered neither good nor bad is publicly marked as right or wrong, and people may feel justified in supporting, criticizing, or punishing others based on these standards. This process often leads to discussion in society and the media about the right way to live, with certain behaviors or choices seen as morally superior or inferior, shaping public attitudes and social policies. This motion is important to discuss today because in many societies and media, we see that different ways of living are often judged as morally right or wrong. For example, habits like smoking, eating meat, or how people take care of their health have become subjects of moral debates. Smoking, once considered as a personal choice, and is now often seen as morally wrong due to health concerns. Similarly, choosing vegetarianism can be viewed not just as a preference but as a moral statement against eating meat. These moral judgments in public discussion bring significant negative consequences that affect both individuals and society as a whole. One of the most important negative impacts of moralization is intolerance. When people see certain behaviors as morally wrong, they often become less accepting of those who do not follow the right way. This intolerance can lead to social divisions, where groups of people reject or exclude others based on moral differences. When intolerance grows, society loses the ability to tolerate different values and lifestyles. Another serious consequence is discrimination. Moralization can cause people to judge others harshly and treat them unfairly because they do not conform to certain moral standards. For example, individuals who are overweight or smoke might be blamed and stigmatized as lacking self-control, and such discrimination damages people's self-esteem and mental health, and weakens social bonds that hold communities together. Over time, it will be harder for people to live together peacefully. Social pressure is another harmful effect. Moralization often creates strong social expectation for people to live according to particular moral standards. Those who do not fit these standards might be pressured to change, hide their behavior, or face judgment. This pressure limits personal freedom and expression, causing stress and anxiety. It also discourages open conversation and the acceptance of different perspectives. As people fear moral judgment, the result is an environment where conformity is valued over individuality and where fear of judgment stifles creativity and growth. Furthermore, moralization can divide society. As people become more moralistic, they often adopt strict beliefs and become less open to other perspectives. This division makes it harder for communities to find common ground or solution to social problems. The cycle of moral judgment can worsen conflicts and create isolated groups where opposing views are rejected. Overall, moralization damages social harmony and individual well-being by intolerance, discrimination, and social pressure. It transforms difference into conflicts and blockades empathy and supports. Recognizing these consequences is crucial for having healthier, more open conversation about different ways of life, rather than forcing one moral standard on everyone. That's why it is important to have freedom and diversity of lifestyles for a healthy and fair society. When people are free to choose how they live, it promotes respect for personal choice, meaning each individual can decide what is best for themselves without being forced into a single way of living. This freedom helps prevent the negative impacts of moralization, such as intolerance, discrimination, and social pressure. Freedom and diversity of lifestyles play a crucial role in building a fair, healthy, and thriving society. When individuals have the freedom to live their lives and according to their own values and choices, a wide variety of lifestyle naturally emerge. This variety is essential because it reflects different cultures, beliefs, and personal preferences, which enrich society as a whole. According to a global survey by Pew Research Center in 2019, 69% of people across 27 countries reported that their countries have become more diverse by having freedom and diversity of lifestyles. This freedom to choose different ways of life counters the harmful effects of moralization, such as intolerance, discrimination, and social pressure. When society respects diverse lifestyles, people are less likely to judge or exclude others based on moral standards about how to live. Supporting freedom reduces the division and the moralization tends to create, fostering a more tolerant and inclusive social climate. Studies show that societies that strike a balance between too much freedom and too much constraint experience better overall well-being, including higher happiness and lower social tensions. Diversity also encourages creativity and innovation by allowing people to express unique perspectives and cultures. Society open to diverse ways of living tend to be more dynamic and adaptable to change, benefiting economically and socially. From an individual perspective, freedom to live authentically leads to great personal satisfaction and mental health, individual self-confidence, and life satisfaction. However, the acceptance of diversity varies across society and is influenced by factors like age, education, and political views. Younger generation and more educated people show higher support for diversity. For example, in many countries, younger adults are 20% more likely to favor increasing diversity than older adults, and higher education with greater acceptance of diverse lifestyles. Better alternative in public discourse involving moving away from harsh moral judgments and focusing instead on open, respectful, and inclusive conversation that acknowledge different perspectives. Instead of framing debates as battles between right and wrong lifestyles or values, these alternatives promote critical engagement with ideas, allowing multiple voices to be heard without personal attacks or dismissiveness. One key approach is productive discourse, which encourages participants to listen carefully, consider opposing views, and build on each other's points. This kind of dialogue values empathy and recognition that no single perspective has all the answers. Productive public discourse creates a space where people can express concerns, highlight problems, and explore solutions collaboratively rather than trying to win by imposing more superiority. For example, instead of accusing someone of being for their lifestyle choices, participants will seek to understand the reason behind those choices and discuss their impact in a fact-based, compassionate way. Moreover, better alternative in public discourse emphasize democratic values, holding leaders accountable through reasoned argument rather than emotional or moral manipulation. They recognize the complexity of social issues and avoid oversimplifying conflicts into good versus bad narrative. In conclusion, moralization is the process where personal preference or neutral behaviors become seen as moral issues of right and wrong. It transforms simple lifestyle choices into matters of moral judgment that deeply affect individuals and society. While moralization can sometimes push positive, it more often leads to harmful consequences. The negative impact of moralization include intolerance, discrimination, and social pressure. When certain ways of living are seen as morally right or wrong, people tend to judge and exclude those who difference. This intolerance divides societies, weakening this social cohesion and harmony. Discrimination caused by more judgment limits equality and harms individuals' dignity and social participation. Social pressure forces conformity and limits freedom of expression, causing stress and reducing diversity. Respecting freedom and diversity of lifestyles is therefore essential for healthy societies. When people have the freedom to live according to their values without moral condemnation, this encourages tolerance, social unity, creativity, and individual well-being. Data from global surveys show that embracing diversity is linked to stronger social acceptance and more vibrant communities. Protecting lifestyle freedom reduces the harms caused by moralization and supports personal and collective growth. Better alternatives in public discourse involve shifting from moral judgment to open, respectful, and inclusive conversation that consider multiple perspectives, such as productive discourse values empathy, dialogue, and collaborative rather than moral superiority. This approach reduces social division, misinformation, and conflict by fostering understanding and democratic engagement. It allows society to address complex issues more constructively while honoring diversity and freedom. Thank you. That's all from me. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.